everybody, so today I'm here to talk all about You Season 2, like I said. So if you don't know, You is a Netflix show that just released its second season a couple months ago, and I just got around to watching it because it is based on a book series. So it's based on the You book series. In case you're wondering, I have reviewed the book and I have reviewed the first season of You, which I will link both down below. Now, You is one of my favorite thriller books. I really like it. It's very creepy, very dark. I love the audiobook version of it. In fact, I recommend you listen to it if you're going to read it because it just makes the creep factor go up even more. So I was very excited when it was announced that it's going to be a TV show, and I really enjoyed the first season. I thought it stayed really true to the book. There were some big changes, but overall I thought it was a really well done book to show adaptation. So I was very excited for the second season, yet also very apprehensive because it was going to follow the second book of the series, Hidden Bodies. And I did not read Hidden Bodies right away after finishing You because I have just heard horrible things about this book. People really don't like it. It doesn't fit the tone of You. The characters are just, it's just, a lot of people didn't like it. So I waited until the actual second season came out to actually read the book, which I did a mini review on. I will be talking about the book in this video as well. But yeah, I waited till the second season came out to read the book because I just figured it was probably the right thing to do. And let me just say, they made a whole bunch of changes from the book to the show. Some I liked, some I didn't like. So we're going to talk all about season 2. And of course, I will be getting into spoiler territory for You Season 1 and You Season 2, as well as Hidden Bodies, the book, because I think we have to talk about it all. We have to talk about the book and the show and all that kind of stuff. So just to let you know, there will be spoilers ahead. If you don't know what You, the book, and the show is about, we follow a character named Joe who works at a bookstore in New York, and he meets a girl named Beck who comes into his bookstore one day, and he gets very infatuated with her, and he begins to stalk her. He finds out where she lives. He finds out her friends. He finds out literally everything he can about her through social media, and he like literally stalks where she lives, and he really embeds himself into her life. He steals her phone. He maybe murders some people, and basically this whole series is about Joe, who is a stalker and is a sociopath, psychopath, whatever you want to call it. The whole first book follows the entirety of season 1 of the show, which again I thought was great. I love the book, I love the show. They were just both great. So that is what the whole premise is about. If you watch the very last episode of season 1, you know that Joe does kill Beck, which is very true in the book, and he pins it on Dr. Nikki, which is again very true in the book. The difference of the main last bit of the season finale in the show is Candace resurfaces. Now, Candace was Joe's first girlfriend that he murdered, and in the book she's murdered and everything like that, but in the show she fought her way back out and she's actually alive in the very last second of the last season. And the very last second of the episode is her, you know, revealing to Joe that, hey, she's alive and she's ready for some payback. So that was the big difference. I did not mind that difference at all because I thought it would just be interesting. I never really learned about Candace. So when season 2 picks up of You, we are now in Los Angeles because Joe is fleeing Candace because she's going to out him as a killer and things like that. And he decides to go to the one place he thinks no one's going to look for him is LA. And so he moves to LA. Now here's where another big difference comes in Hidden Bodies. And Hidden Bodies begins, Joe is in a relationship with a girl named Amy Adam, and he's still in New York, and it's going really well, and they go on this road trip together and da-da-da-da, and it learns that she was just using him to get the keys and steal a whole bunch of rare books from him, which she does. And he gets really upset and he tries to figure out where she goes, and he figures that she was, and he figures that she was trying to be an actress, so she was going to LA. So he decides to follow her to LA to get some payback. So that is why in Hidden Bodies, why Joe goes to LA. Whereas in the show, he goes to LA to flee Candace. So very obvious difference right there off the bat. Again, I'm okay with those changes. They didn't even really talk about Amy Adam at all in the show, which I didn't really think it needed to be necessary anyway, because she was just not really a part of the book. So Joe moves to LA. He moves into this apartment where he meets Delilah and a whole bunch of other people in his apartment complex. Delilah plays a much bigger part in the show than in the book. She was a very, very minor character in the book, whereas in the show, she was much more expanded on and honestly a much better person, and I like that. But anyway, Joe gets into some antics at LA and he meets a girl named Love, and of course he falls in love and things start happening. So You Season 2, I don't know still what to rate it. Whereas I really honestly would probably give You Season 1 a 4.5, maybe a 5, because I really enjoyed it that much. I thought it was just great. You Season 2, I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. I'm glad they made a lot of changes, but there's some changes that I felt were unnecessary. So I don't know. Right now I'm like at a 3.5 maybe. My main problem with season 2, and honestly with the show altogether, is how much they humanize Joe and make you feel sympathetic for him. And honestly, in the show, he is much more likable than in the book. Season 1 of You and the book, You, the first book, Joe, I think it was written so you would hate every character. You know, Beck was horrible, Peach was horrible, Benji was horrible. So when Joe did all those unspeakable acts, you were just like, you know, I guess I'm rooting for the bad guy here, because everybody was just so unlikable, and so you attached yourself to the least unlikable character, if that makes any sense. So Joe was, you know, I don't know what to say. But then when you get to Hidden Bodies, Joe is just horrible. His actions are horrible. His actions have been horrible all throughout. But even in the second book, I just did not like Joe at all. And the show portrays him as so much more like humanizing and heartfelt and things like that than he is in the book. So I did not like that at all. Like, they made him, you know, be very sympathetic towards Delilah and Ellie and sympathetic. And I was like, that's not how he was in the book. Joe is just a stone cold killer. And that's the bottom line of it. But the show changes that, if that makes any sense at all. So I don't like that, because it's not staying true to the series of Joe. It makes you want to like him and root for him and things like that. And I'm like, no, you are supposed to loathe this guy and hate him. And there's not any redeemable factors about Joe at all. But in the show, he is redeemable. You're like, oh, he's not that bad of a guy. He wants to do the right thing. And I'm just like, no. So that was my biggest flaw, which we'll talk about more. And then we have, I'm just going to go all over the place because there's a lot of things to hash out. So then we have the character Love. Love is his main squeeze in Hidden Bodies, and he, it's quite different from his relationships, because I really feel like Joe starts to trust Love and things like that, but yet he's still up to his old ways. And the show is very different with Love and everything about Love. Love in the book is very carefree. She just loves everybody. She loves love. She comes from a great family. So in the show, her family and her parents are just horrible. They just don't like her. But in the book, her parents were just great. They loved both her and 40. They were just awesome, wholesome parents that just accepted everybody and loved everybody. So they made Love in the show have a bit of a tragic backstory with bad parents, and then with 40's au pair and all this other stuff that I was just like, I don't think it was necessary at all. And the biggest change of the whole freaking book to movie is they made Love a killer. They made it like Joe finally met his match with Love, because he would kill anybody for Love, but Love would do the same thing for him. And I was just, you know, half the time I'm like okay with it, then I'm like, I don't know what to say. But Love kills Candace and Delilah, which and the au pair, I don't know, they just made Love much more of like a creepy villain that you didn't really know was a villain, and it was just out of left field. But it made the show more intriguing, so I still don't know how I feel about it. Oh gosh, I don't know. But the whole fact of Candace, speaking of Candace, let's talk about her. So like I said, in the book, Candace died, and she still died, and she's still dead. But in the show, they decided to bring her back, you know, to seek revenge. And I thought that was going to be a great plot line, and I really think they executed it poorly. I really wanted to expand more on Candace's character. I really wanted her to take down Joe. I wanted her to be smart and manipulative, and she just did that a little bit, but she didn't do about it the right way. And the way she ended, the way Delilah just killed, I did not like that. That girl did not deserve that. So I wanted it to have more with her backstory and with her story trying to take down Joe. I felt like it was a cop-out. I'm like, you brought her back for this, like to end like that? Like, really? I thought it'd be much better if she would escape that and then come back again. I don't know. I just really felt like they missed an opportunity with Candace. That's just my opinion. So yeah, I like that whole aspect of her in a relationship with 40 and how they named her Amy Adam for the character in the book, but it just was really, they could have done a lot better. Speaking of 40 is a character that if you read the book, you hate 40. He is a druggie. He is just cares about himself and his fame and his screenwriting. He's just a horrible character. But in the show, I was very surprised that 40 was one of my favorite characters. They made him sober, they made him really try, they made him love, and they just made him like a really good friend to Joe. And in the book, Joe is getting really tired of 40's and Love's relationships because they're twins, they're brother and sister, they're always there for each other, and he feels like 40's manipulating Love's time. So he decides to kill 40, which again is, you know, in the show, he was very against doing anything to 40 because 40 was a really good guy and he didn't want to do anything. But in the book, Joe tried to kill 40 and he almost got away with it, but 40 survived and 40 blackmails him. And then at the end of the book, just to let you know, 40 gets hit by a car and dies. So it's just, why? So, and in the show, 40 is going to kill Joe and then a cop kills 40, which again, there's just so many changes, and it's understandable the changes because this book, I did not like it at all, so I understand the changes, but the way they ended it was just, oh, even the very end when Joe peeks and he's like, hello neighbor, and he's going back to his old stalker ways. I mean, it's to show that Joe is not going to change. He's not going to change at all. He's going to be a sociopath. He's going to be a stalker. That is in his blood. It's who he is. And it's just going to show. And I'm glad they kind of did it now because I think people are just like always loving Joe and like, oh, I love Joe. I would love to be stalked by Joe. And I'm like, no, he's a scary person. You don't want that. So I'm glad they kind of showed it at the end because it's like, yeah, Joe's in a relationship and he's about to have a kid with Love and it doesn't change him. He's still gonna freaking do the crazy bad things that he does. So yeah, anyway, back to 40. I love the way they portrayed him in the show, and I loved also the fact of him, because in the book he is a screenwriter and he tries to write different movies and things like that, but in the show they took Guinevere Beck's book and he was trying to make it into a film, which I think is a great idea, and I wish they would have done that in the book. I think that would have made it much more intriguing than the freaking film they did in the book. And I love that they did that because he's trying to figure out who really killed Beck, and he gets close and he figures it out, and I loved that, and I wish they would have expanded more on that because I found that so interesting, and I love the way they did that. Like, it would have been really interesting, and they had a really big climatic moment when like 40 figures out that Joe killed Love right then and there, and Joe was there, and then Love was there. Oh, that would have been so interesting. I feel like they wasted that in my opinion. And then, I don't know, but I did like that aspect. What else? Oh, Delilah. So Delilah is a big character in the show, whereas in the book she was barely there. And then they also have Ellie. Ellie's a character they made up and put on the show. She symbolizes Paco like they did in season 1, where Joe is trying to protect a younger child from all the things. And again, I believe that Paco and Ellie were made for the show to sympathize with Joe, to show that Joe is redeemable and does care about people. In reality, he doesn't. But anyway, so Delilah in the book gets together with Joe after Joe and Love get in a fight, which Joe's just a sucky boyfriend already. And Delilah finds his bag and she figures out that he killed Henderson, and then he just kills Delilah right then and there. In the show, you know, Joe's trying to protect Delilah and protect Ellie, and he's gonna let Delilah go and all this stuff. Whereas in the book, he was just stone cold. So again, the whole show is just trying to make Joe a better person than what he is, because he's not. And I just, I don't like that at all. Like in the first season, I felt like they were trying to make Beck really sympathetic, and you really sympathize with Beck a lot in season 1 of the show. And the book, Beck was just horrible. Oh my gosh, she was horrible. Anyway, so Delilah in the show figures out that Joe killed Henderson, and then he locks her up and he's about to let her go, and then Love comes in and just kills her. It's just, it's so crazy. And then Ellie, I mean, Ellie's got to play another forefront into this whole series because she knows everything and things like that, and she just went away. I don't know. And the whole Henderson thing as well. The reason why Joe killed Henderson in the book is because he believed that Amy Adam, the girl that he moved to LA for to kind of find, had a connection with Henderson, and he killed Henderson by just like overdosing him on like some pills and things like that, and that's how he killed Henderson. And in the show, he didn't want to kill Henderson. He wanted just him to prove his actions wrong, and then all the scuffle. It's just, You season 2 is a mixed bag for me. I felt like there was a lot of changes, like I continually keep saying that I think were interesting. The whole Delilah and Ellie front, I found that interesting. The screenplay with Guinevere Beck's book, I found that interesting. With Candace, I found interesting. With Love being a killer, I don't know. I will find that interesting because you have two people that are just straight up crazy being together that will do and kill anybody that gets in their way to, you know, hurt one another. I don't know. I really thought that they were going to, when Joe found out that Love's a killer, they were going to be like a Bonnie and Clyde thing and be like, let's do this thing. But no, Joe was like, no, you're bad. That's wrong. And I'm like, have you looked in the mirror at all? Like, just because you saved Delilah and that other guy who was totally made up, Will Bettelheim, because in the book, what happened, so you're fully aware, Joe, despite all the bad things he's done, moves to LA and he's like, I'll keep the name Joe Goldberg. That's a good idea. And then he joins social media and Facebook. And that is ultimately what brings him down is Facebook, because he joins Facebook and Instagram and all this stuff. And then they redevelop Beck's case because Dr. Nikki's in jail and blah, blah, blah. The cop figures out that, hey, this is Dr. Nikki's patient, that Danny Fox. And then they say, oh, is this the guy? And they find him on Facebook. And that's what brings him down. And the book ends, just so you know, with him getting arrested and Love being like, I'll wait for you. And the book's very anticlimactic with the ending. So the show, you know, is definitely more interesting. I'll give you that, because the book was just, I don't know. Now I know that Cameron Kepnes is going to continue on the series because the show is continuing on. I don't know what she's going to do, if she's going to follow the show's storyline or if she's going to follow the book storyline. Either way, things are going to really change in the book. If she's going to follow the book storyline, I don't know what the show is going to base themselves off of, because the book is 1,000% different from the show at this point. So I don't know. So yeah, that's all my feelings are to say is I enjoyed season 1 of You and I really liked it. Season 2 was okay. I didn't love it, but then again, I didn't love the source material, but I felt like they could have done things even differently than what they did. Like I said, I wanted them to expand more on the Guinevere Beck thing. It would have been even crazier if they went to filming and actually went into movies and it got exploded from there. That would have been interesting. I wish they would have kept 40 alive. I wish they would have kept Candace alive. I don't know, do I want Love to be a killer? It's interesting, I'll say that, but Love's backstory is just odd. And then the fact that they don't even bring Milo until like the very end of the show, and he's just there for a second when Milo was a big problem in the book for Joe, like goodness me. But yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts on season 2 of You. If you've read the book Hidden Bodies and watched the show, do you have the same feelings as me, or did you just watch the show and skip the book? I'd say right now I would give season 2 a 3. I think 3 would be a good thing for me. It was in the middle. It was okay. I am going to continue on with the series because, as always, I think Penn Badgley does a great job with Joe. I loved him in Gossip Girl, so I'm going to continue loving him. And yeah, I'm interested to see what they're going to do with it. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But I would love to hear your thoughts on the show. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.